And it doesn't exist in a general way. It exists in myself now, and you cannot find it in another place. But what, you see, you must insist on a point that, well, we saw that in that suitcase there was all our determinations. By God, there are many determinations and an ocean of determinations. And we are reduced to that. All the knowledge. So you must forget not what you lived before, not with your memory, what your memory shows to you, but you should forget what you know intellectually. All your, well, we are grounded in some belief. You say belief? Yeah. Always grounded. That ground seems very innocent and pure. It's the demon. You should destroy it. No ground. But what I'm saying is, and you see, it's not very difficult to see that there's another ground which is appearing. Is what I say, to destroy all the ground. Even that ground should be destroyed. And in that suitcase, first you say to put the suitcase down. It's not easy because there's my father and my mother, there's my daughter, there's all I know, all the things I know. We know lots of things. Eh? It has no importance whether that knowledge is real or false, is true or false, has no importance. You see, I prefer to destroy the truth when it's true, when it's absolutely true. So what I say is absolutely true. At least I'm aiming at that. Well, the more it's true, the more it must be killed. So, all intellectual belief, all intellectual truth should be killed. But of course, this is already the start of another belief, and it should be killed immediately. So.
But to be able to kill them, you have to first see them.
Yes, you've got to see them, and it's very difficult.
Because you're totally
yes, because we are very good in thinking, and I have nothing against thinking, but it's not the way to be, you see. If you're aiming at being, just being, well, thinking is not the role you should take. It's a way to know thinking. There's another way to know, just one. It's consciousness. Be aware. So, in fact, you should put on the side definitely that belief that you get somewhere in thinking. You'll get somewhere, and you'll connect your own reality only by awareness.
So you can keep going back all the time, because every time you become aware of becoming aware, that's a thought. So you could just keep doing that all the time.
Yeah, and so at the moment, well, that's a very good objection. You could say it's a classical objection. If there was more than 2 or 3 people in the world, who does it, puts out this objection. But it could be a classical objection. That objection, there's something charming there, absolutely charming. That at the moment, the chap realizes he does his work well, aware of that thought. Immediately, that awareness puts out another thought. I'm aware of that new thought. Perhaps I'm not, my speed is not as sufficient to grasp immediately the thing. But perhaps I'm a little late. But nevertheless, there's an evidence which merges, which is that whatever, there's a vicious thing. It's a vicious processus, like a vis sans fin. I don't know the English term for vis sans fin.
vis sans fin is like a screw.
A screw without end, you see. So, in fact, at the moment, the chap would say, it's like a screw without end. It will go on everything. Each time I have a victory, it means that I've lost the war. See, so, but that's something charming there, because that's the main objection. The main objection. That vis sans fin, it's a main objection. But what is it? Look at it. Well, it's just a thought, and at that time, I'm out of the vicious spiral. So. The main error we see is not to have a mind and normally in their life, and ask yourself lots of questions and speak to yourself in your mind. No, that's absolutely charming. It's a play. You're reading, you don't know it, but you're reading a charming novel, very, very amusing. But that's quite charming. But it's we don't take it as a fiction. We take it for real, and at that time it corrupts. And it's starting to bite us, destroy us. And I'll say one more thing after that I'll quit. There's something very strange, the fact that I'm talking about what? I'm talking about pure existence. Well, pure existence in a way doesn't exist, you see. It's very light. When you think about it, it takes false reality. In fact, it's the only thing. It's pure existence is the only thing in the world which doesn't exist. So it's very light. You could say that it's a burden. Yeah, I woke up and that yes, I'm God, and it's just for the weight of God is something. It's going to crush me and destroy me. Well, no, because it doesn't exist. You see, in the meaning we put in the word exist, normally it doesn't exist. The pure awakening as an object, which means as a thought, simply doesn't exist. So it's incredibly light.
Yesterday you were talking about the process of thought and maybe of mental images also. Mental
yes.
images, and how they create a so-called reality.
Yes, you see, the very queer thing, because we have an intuition. We're not dead. Our intuitions are not all dead. Some are still alive. And we know very well that when we form a mental image, even when we produce a thought, in the limits of our mind, so-called limits of our mind, because in fact it's infinite, the mind. Well, we have the intuition that more or less that it's not very absolutely real, you see. We know very well that the mental image of that tree of my mother is not the tree of my mother. And when we get crazy, really crazy, we should be en train de nous passer à camisole de force. When we go to the hospital, it's a psychiatric hospital, when we forget that. So when the chap walking the street speaking to an unexistent person and shouting and do that, well, obviously he forgot that that intuition we were speaking about has disappeared. So it's a mental image, and he doesn't recognize it, the mental image, as a mental image. So he thinks it's real, and we feel, in fact, we feel uneasy when we see that, and I think we have the intuition that the chap is violating a fundamental law of the mind, of the spirit, of being. He's teaching. C'est un traître. Comment dit traître? Traitor. C'est ça. On a spiritual level, so we are very uneasy. We smile, but we are very uneasy looking at the chap. Well, after that, we look in ourselves, and I'm not like that chap. But of course, I'm like that chap, because I have some conscious mental images, or conscious thoughts. Well, if I'm conscious away in the dans la mesure, in the well, let's say I'm more or less conscious of these thoughts, these mental images. So if I'm more or less, but let's say roughly that they don't appear to me as realities, really. But that's the conscious part of our mind. That happens in the conscious part. So there, let's say we are gentlemen, and we act as gentlemen inside ourselves. But what we don't know is that the mind in which happens all these, in which raise these mental images, these thoughts of which we are more or less conscious, of which we are more or less aware. Well, the mind itself is a mental image. The mind itself is a thought. So, but that mental image, we have no notion, we are absolutely unconscious of it. And my mind as a thought, we are absolutely as an image or a mental image or as a thought, I'm unconscious of that. So I treat it, how do I treat the thing? As reality. You see, when I think I'm doing this or this in my mind, well, see, if somebody told me that that was just a play, just a fiction, I wouldn't agree. Yeah? I'm in big sorrow. I'm working very. I'm working on a problem, and I have the biggest difficulties with the problem. So I'm suffering inside. So the chap comes and says, well, "This isn't real." Yes. I won't say the rest of the sentence. So, but you've got the general idea what I mean. So all that is of the same nature as the mental image of the tree, which is more or less recognized as unreal. So let's say in that room there you find a few pictures. So you see, you look at that room looks like could be compared to our mind. There are windows. What the windows means what in our mind? The eyes. So it works out. There's no door, of course, no door in our mind. But a room, windows, which are our eyes, which pretend to be our eyes, and we take it for granted that all the things which happens in our mind, whether they are positive or negative, usually they are negative, very negative. We suffer more than we are happy here. Well, we take it for granted anyway that everything is real. These little mental images are not very real. We recognize that. But me looking at the mental image, that's a fact. That's the truth. That's real. And the mind itself and the time, there's time, the inner time. That inner time obviously is real. I cannot do anything against it. It's not the inside, it comes from outside. If I say to somebody who feels that inner time, who is cut into little pieces by that inner time, all these little seconds, I'm borning and then I'm dying. I'm borning and I'm dying. Well, if you say to some chap who has that feeling that he's dreaming, you will get a blow in the face. Huh?